Good evening, everyone. On this episode of Sports Guru, as I would imagine you could guess judging by my apparel, we will be discussing the Saturday divisional round matchup between the Houston Texans visiting the Baltimore Ravens. We will be covering what the spread is, what the injury report is, what the expectation for total points scored are. We'll go over the injury report and any potential predictions for this particular matchup. Now, the initial betting line has Baltimore as a 9.5-point favorite in their own building. That number does not particularly surprise me. Every team that the Ravens have faced this year that was at least 3 games over 500 that played the Ravens at the time, that they were at least 3 games over 500, lost by double digits every single game. The Ravens absolutely manhandled their opposition in all of those games. That does not surprise me to see them as large favorites, particularly in their building. The over-under for points scored is 43.5, which I personally think that's a little bit low. I don't see Houston keeping Baltimore off the scoreboard, but the Ravens have a few minor injuries on their defense that might make it harder to keep Houston from scoring, which leads me into the injury report. For Houston, defensive end Jerry Hughes is out, offensive tackle George Fant, and fullback Andrew Beck. As for Baltimore, they will be missing cornerback Marlon Humphrey, which is obviously a key piece of their secondary. They'll be getting safety Kyle Hamilton back into the lineup, which is a big addition, but he hasn't played since the Christmas night game against San Francisco, so the possibility of rust is very much there. I don't expect to see huge snaps for him, but he'll feature prominently regardless. The upside for Baltimore is that it is looking very possible that tight end Mark Andrews will be returning to the lineup after missing the past 2 months with an ankle injury. But given how well Lamar Jackson has done spreading the ball and how well Isaiah Likely has played filling in for Andrews, I don't expect to see a large workload for him. Even if he's at 100%, I expect the Ravens to try to gradually work him back into the offense through the postseason. My guess is that he will play somewhere in the ballpark of anywhere from, I want to say, 18 to 25 snaps. I don't expect to see a lot of passes thrown his way. I expect something in the range of 2 to 4 catches in the 21 to 36 yards gained range. I would expect to see them try to get him the ball in the red zone when they get down there at some point during the game. Now, as for my prediction, it's a safe assumption that I'm going with the Ravens, and there are several reasons, several key statistics I want to go over for those who are not aware. Now, obviously, everyone at this point is aware that Baltimore has clinched the number 1 seed. The road to the Super Bowl runs through Baltimore. For someone else to get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, they're going to have to beat the Ravens in their building, which I personally don't see happening for several reasons. Aside from the fact that they've absolutely found their stride on offense, Lamar Jackson in particular has gotten progressively better as the season has gone on. He's very much kept turnovers down, and he has taken advantage of what his defense has set him up with. For those who don't understand the depth of that, the Ravens defense is not just number 1 in the league in points allowed this season, they're number 1 in the league in points allowed per drive. So if you adjust for pace on a per possession basis, they have been the best in the league in that regard. The Ravens have the best average starting field position in the league this year, which is starting at their own 33-yard line, which would say that the defense is generating shorter fields for Lamar Jackson and the offense, while the defense gets to start in favorable territory as well. The starting field position for the Ravens' opponent is their own 28-yard line, which is also ninth best in the league. The Ravens had done an exceptional job at keeping the field long for their opposition, which factors greatly into all of the things that they do well on defense. They led the league in takeaways this year with 31. They led the league in sacks with 60. And as I mentioned, they led the league in points allowed. They are the first team in the history of the NFL to lead the league in all three categories in a single season. They've kept turnovers at a minimum with just 13 fumbles lost and 17... Wait, no. I stand corrected. That is 12 fumbles lost to 7 interceptions thrown as a team. The fewest interceptions thrown in the league, slightly above average in terms of fumbles lost. And they are presently also the most disciplined team in the league on defense because, unless I'm reading this incorrectly, they commit the fewest personal fouls in the league on defense with just 483 personal fouls. That seems a bit odd. I believe I'm misreading that. But the point is that they don't make many mistakes. And they are presently going up against a team whose quarterback is a rookie. He's been spectacular, don't get it wrong. But they are facing a rookie quarterback who they faced once already in C.J. Stroud. And while he has been great, the Ravens defense tends to take advantage of inexperienced signal callers, and I would not be surprised if they got to him early and often with their pass rush and how well they've played in coverage this year. The Ravens have not done a particularly great job at limiting rushing yards per attempt by opposing offenses, but it hasn't been a particularly large issue because they've spent most of the season gearing up to defend the pass. They were ahead on the scoreboard for, as of this past week, I want to say 16 matchup against the Niners. Something in the range of 90% of the plays they ran during the season, they were ahead on the scoreboard. So they didn't have to worry very much about defending the run. They were not really in position to worry about it, so they didn't gear up for it. They tended to stay back and defend the pass. And I anticipate that will be a lot of what they do against Houston. Now, Houston is coming in on a roll. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. Their one loss was a 36-22 loss to Cleveland. That occurred on December 17th, which, as we saw this past week, they more than made up for with how they handled business against the Browns. But I don't see it continuing past this week. This is a team that, on the year, is not inside of the top 10 on either offense or defense. And they do not do a particularly great job of running the football. They are ranked 29th in the league this season in yards per attempt at just 3.7. And they will have to maintain their offense on the ground against Baltimore just to neutralize their pass rush, which I don't see happening either. So all in all, I see Houston as large underdogs which Vegas odds do as well. My prediction is that Baltimore ends up winning this game somewhere in the margin of, I want to say 31-14 or 31-17. I believe that the defense will ring up 3 to 4 sacks, force 2 turnovers, and I believe they'll get 2 red zone stops. I don't see them turning it over very much. And I see Lamar largely taking what the defense gives him against Houston. And they move on in relatively decisive manner that will not be quite as indicative of what the game looks like, though I expect a strong performance. But one more where it'll be competitive throughout, but they put the game away definitively late in the second half and move on to the AFC Championship game. That's all for now. I will see you next time, and have a great day.